Well, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Junk and Treasures. Before we get in too deep with this episode here, I probably need to do some explaining on some stuff. I know you guys have not seen me that active on this channel at all. I got a lot of stuff going on. The last thing I posted was just something random about a Chevy Volt that I just picked up. That's sold, it's gone. I decided not to fool with it. I don't have time to mess with stuff like that. You have been seeing a lot of bouncing around from projects to projects, like from the Porsche to that Volt to Grady Whites, the Silverton, you name it. I've probably tried to throw it in there and try to make something of it. We're gonna say I'm like ADD is all get out. Like I can't focus on one thing at all. So that being said, this is what we're gonna do, and this is what you're gonna see from here on. I'm only gonna focus on a couple projects, actually mostly one, and that's gonna be this thing right here. This is the Silverton 322. I'm gonna kick off a new series of videos and mostly just focus on this boat here. I still have the Grady White. It has gone a long way since you've seen it last. Now what I'm going to do is just kind of sprinkle that one in a little bit from episodes of the Silverton. If you know me, if you've followed any of my other videos, especially on the Silverton, what we are trying to do is go on the Great Loop. I have 1 year to get this boat done. Will we make that go? I don't know. Let's find out together. Now, if all goes according to plan, when we get this boat done, we're going to start a Great Loop series of videos. So that's what the direction this channel is going to be going, probably for the next couple years. If this is something you don't want to see and you want to unfollow me, no hard feelings, I understand. But this is solely going to be focused mostly on this Silverton. One of the reasons why you haven't seen me much is I actually started a new business. I've started a Joe Coat fiberglass repair company focusing on boats. I told myself I would never actually make boats a career, but I just couldn't help myself. I just fell right into it. It's been great. It's been fantastic. If you know me, I've actually done excavation work probably since I started Junk and Treasures, and that has just been so up and down. It's been a major headache. I kind of fell into this. I focused on it all summer long. I have had no time to do any videos or anything like that, hardly at all. Now that I have explained pretty much what's been going on with Junk and Treasures, been busy with the business and everything else, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this deal. Let's talk about the Silverton. Now, some of the stuff I have done off camera, that's what we're gonna go over first, so you're not completely lost on this project. If you remember, this entire chime part of the boat was completely busted out, like right through here, on all the way back. We've had a lot of fiberglass damage. I actually fixed most of that early summer. I am now working on a lot of the spider cracks and everything else, the cosmetic stuff on the side of the boat. Now, we're probably going to wait a little bit until we get good, better, more firm, warmer weather to continue the fiberglass stuff on this boat. I've also taken the rear swim platform off where it was busted, and it was 3M 5200 all the way across, and it literally just made a mess out of the backside of the molded swim platform part of this boat. So we're gonna have to re-glass all that too. Now, if you're comparing any of these newer videos to some of the older videos that you've seen, you've noticed that I got the bridge visor actually installed on this boat now. I did repair that. That was a huge ordeal. That thing was really bad shape. I've had a ton of cracking going on. It's been damaged before. This whole boat, I discovered, has been damaged before, and I'm having to go back and fix old repairs. After being really intimate with this boat, I probably should have just crushed it up and thrown it away. I mean, it's a project. So for you guys that is new to this channel and just now picking up this project, I bought this boat out of Mobile, Alabama, and we towed it back with my Ford F450. It was already taken apart, ready for transport. I knew it had fiberglass damage on it, but it wasn't till I got it home did I realize on how bad everything was on this boat. I know if you're just now starting to follow me, you're just gonna comment like, oh, you're gonna sink, you're gonna spend way more money and time on this boat than what it's ever worth. You're probably right. I'm not gonna argue with that. I'm in it this deep already, so I'm just gonna finish it out. I have a lot of good stuff bought for this boat already. Most of the major stuff has already been bought. The price of the boat itself was virtually free. So I'm just gonna have a lot of sweat equity in this thing, more than money, I would say. Just about any kind of boat that would be anywhere in my price range to buy, even if it was turnkey, like under $100,000, you're probably going to need upgraded electronics, radar systems, all that kind of stuff. This boat's going to get all that, and I'm probably going to be still under $100,000 on this boat. That's my primary goal. If you go back and you watch any of the other videos, you will know that I actually already pulled the engines out and pulled them through that hole. So if you want to go back and look at that, that's great. I also want to note one of the biggest setbacks on this boat was after we pulled the engines out, I actually found one stringer that was rather rotten on this boat, and it was just like, oh, really? You know, I've already done a lot of trimming. I've cut a lot of that stringer out. I have drilled multiple test holes all over this whole boat trying to find any more rot. As far as structural rot goes, I got it narrowed down basically right into that stringer. There must have been some kind of leak that has happened, and it's been gaining moisture for years just from rainwater and rotted that wood out. Now, that being said, okay, don't hold me to this. I'm about 99% sure this is the way this boat is constructed. The fiberglass on the stringers is so thick that the wood in the stringers is pretty much there just as to act as a form to overlay the fiberglass, and the fiberglass itself is what makes the strength of the stringers. I've done a lot of deep research on the internet about Silvertons and some other boats, the way they're constructed. Supposedly the wood can be completely rotted away and it's not gonna structurally compromise the boat. Now, do I know this for a hard fact on a 1998 Silverton 322 motor yacht? No, I have not seen any kind of data explaining that's the construction of this boat. However, judging on the thickness of the stringers and the materials, the plywood, the way it was put together, I'm 90% confident that if any of the stringers did get rotten in this boat, it wouldn't structurally compromise the boat. However, I am cutting it all out and I'm gonna replace all the rotten wood with Cusa board. One reason why I decided just to go do that is where the stringer is where the motor and the engine and transmission mount on that stringer. So even if that stringer was hollow, it's going to sit there and push it together as you try to tighten down on it. So I figured it's just best, let's just cut it open, replace the wood with Cusa, and glass it back. Just takes all the guesswork out of it, and let's just move on. It's just a peace of mind. The other thing I've done with this boat that you haven't seen yet since the last videos is I got the generator installed on the boat. The hole that the generator goes in down the bilge is all nice and repainted and replumbed. It looks brand new. That gave me hope on moving forward with this thing. Let's talk about the engines of this boat. If you are new to this channel, you know I am not going to put the 350s back in this boat. In fact, I'm not even putting gas burner motors back in this boat. I have a set of low-hourred Yanmars that I'm going to put back in this boat. I actually bought a whole other boat out of Florida that had these motors in it. I knew ultimately I wanted a diesel boat to do the loop. Even though they're low hours, they were rather crusty. They've been in the salt water and all that good stuff. So you can see the white one back here. I've already taken that one apart down to just basically a long block. Took it, had it sandblasted. I've been slowly repainting all the little parts, just doing a refresh with hoses and gaskets and just mostly cosmetic. As you can see here on the yellow one, This is what they originally looked like. They're a little crusty. I have ordered so many parts, it's just nickel and diming me to death on these Yanmars. I've ordered so many parts, and it's nickel and diming me to death just on the boat itself. It is now the beginning of February. My ultimate goal is, by the end of March, these Yanmars are in that boat. Now, I hope I didn't bore you to death on just trying to get you up to speed on this project. It's just something I needed to do to explain what's going on. So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna get working on it. So enough rambling. Let's get to work. All right, here we are in my newly paved workshop area. I got the stringer cutouts placed on the Scusa board, and what we're gonna do now, try to carefully measure everything. The board is like kind of a really weird, not the board, but the stringer itself is kind of a really weird shape. So I'm just gonna have to try to take measurements and transfer it to the board. I did mess up a little bit. I meant to record this while I was in the workshop area, and I didn't realize I still had the camera set on time warp. So anyway, we got the stringer cut out, and the next step was to bring it up here in the boat, try to test fit it. I only have like this much between the stringer and the fuel tank. If you look over here on this side, you got the stringer and then the top of the fuel tank. To be able to pull that thing out this way, I mean, it was like, oh, I mean, I want to use some slang that's probably not appropriate, but just a hair off. So anyway, we're gonna try to test fit this thing, plug it in the way it's supposed to go. There's some extra ribbing that needs to be put in, like here, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 ribs that go in, and on this there's some cutout spots. We'll worry about that a little bit later. Let's just see if we can get this piece formed pretty much the way it needs to be first. We are so close. Just a little bit off on that side. Needs to come maybe like 1/8 of an inch needs to be trimmed off of it. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to work on this, like the inner gutter part of this. And also, on a side note, it's probably best to wear gloves when handling this Scusa board because it's very fiberglass-like, and I'm starting to kind of feel the little fibers get stuck in my fingers. It is not a good feeling. Nice and clean. Now what I need to do is mark out the back side of this where each one of these ribs are. Go ahead and take this thing back out and cut the rib parts and see if we can get them to interlock together the way they were from the factory. Now the one thing I did do is I did add a 3-inch tab to go in the front stringer. All right, I did go ahead and make me one of the ribs just off camera to see how she turned out, and yeah, that will work. Let's go ahead and build the rest of them. Just like that, we have a new structure for our stringer. All right, let's take the stuff aboard the old Silverton, see how she fits. Should fit, should. And I have one more piece to cut out, and then we should be good as far as the Kusa. And ta-da! I do think we're gonna have to trim up number 3 a little bit. It's, for some reason, it's a little bit too long, but I think if I just trim some off the end and just kind of grind it out, I'll be okay. I do have one more piece to try to figure out. That's this piece right here. As soon as I'm got that one in, I'll probably call it a day. Well, I tried making me a paper template, and it just did not work out. It's way off. I need to find that piece that I cut out of there is what I would need to do. That would definitely help me if I could do that. Well, since I really could not find the part I cut out of that stringer, I went ahead and just took some measurements. Came up with this. This is going to be the pattern along the bottom hull of the boat. This is the width of what's cut out, and I could just slide that down, and then I could probably just draw whatever, trace it out, that weird curve. So let's try that. Fits very nicely. Now, after quite a bit of off-camera grinding and sanding and grooving, I think we got it. Man, just absolutely perfect. Like, you can't get any better than this. I'm very proud of this right here. All right, guys, that pretty much concludes this part of the structural repair on the Silverton 322. The next step is going to be pulling all the stuff right back out, grinding the floor really good, gluing everything back in with some thickened epoxy, and making sure that we got a nice contour between the Kusa board and the floor, so that way everything lays down and adheres and there's no air voids. So I'm going to leave you guys off right here, and the next video is going to be most likely glassing in the stringers, or maybe working on the motor some. Either way, I will see you guys again here maybe in like a week or 2 weeks or something like that, as soon as I could get right back on this boat.
Next year I'm quitting my job and we're going on the Great Loop.